Okay, we're gonna start our lecture today. It's about a new topic. I'm covering on the array. So in this lesson, I will teach you what is array and how we're gonna use array in the computer programming in order to store multiple of value in one variable, right? And then we learn how to create, how to create an array, how we can store a value into the array, and then how we can access the data from the array as well. Okay, right? This one is very short lecture for this one. And what is array actually? So this note doesn't have any definition of array actually, right? So it's very short one, but I will gonna tell you what is a Python array according to this website and so on, right? So actually, what is array actually? So Python doesn't have any support of array actually, but in Python we call it as a Python list that we can use instead of the array. If you learn other programming languages, for example, C, C++, Java, there is a specific terms that we call as array in that particular programming language, which means that each of the declaration of array must have a very specific data type for this one. For example, we declare a numbers that consists of a multiple of numbers in array declarations. Okay, right? Similar, if we declare some kind of the character, all the values inside the array must be the character. That is part of the what we call the fundamental of programming in C, C++, Java for the arrays. But in this lesson, we talk about Python arrays, but that looks a little bit different compared to the what we call the traditional programming languages. Okay, right. So as you can see in this website that is called I refer to this website W3 Schools and very useful for the beginner as well. And this website is already been maybe 20-30 years ago because I'm frequently use this website during my study, during my diplomas, degree, and so on, because there are a lot of programming inside this one, and there is a lot of languages supported in the website. Okay, so we try to look on a very basic example. What is array actually? So array here is we call in Python array, which we call as a list, right? List. If you still remember in the previous lecture that I talked about collections of data, a collection of data that consists of multiple of values in one declaration, we call it this one as a list. Okay, in Bahasa we call it senarai. So when we talk about list, they must have more than one data in that particular variable declarations. Okay, and here we call it a Python array. For example, like this one. This is how we can create an array that containing the car names that consists of multiple of values. Okay, Ford, Volvo, and BMW. And normally in the previous lesson, we learn about how we declare in a single variable or individual variable that consists of only one value inside it, right? For example, car equal to Ford without any additional of value right after the Ford value here. Okay, so the presentation of the array here is basically by using the square bracket. Take a look very carefully on this one. If you found that there is a square bracket here, this one we call as a list. It's a Python list, and we can consider this one as a Python array as well. Okay, so in other words, arrays in Bahasa we call it as a jujukan, right? So why we call this as jujukan? Because we have a sequence of data in one declarations. Cars equal to Ford, value number 1, Volvo is value number 2, and BMW is the value number 3, the last one, right? Okay, so I want to highlight here, there are specific terms in array, for example, elements, okay, the values, indexing, and so on, that I will keep frequently use this kind of terms in during my lesson. Okay, so what is the first elements in this list here? Okay, what is the first element is a Ford, the second element is Volvo, the third element or the last element in this array we call it a BMW, right? Okay, so there's another term that we call an index. Index, the first index, the second index, and then the third index or the last index in this array that we refer as the what we call the sequence of the data in the array. They're starting from the index number 0, 1, 2, 3 until and the last one, right? Okay, so what is array here is special variable which can hold more than one value at a time. Okay, so this is the definition of the array. So that's why you call it array. A jujukan is sequence of number that we can store multiple of value at the same time in single variable declarations, right? So previously you learned about the variable declarations, how you name the variables, for example, car1, car2, car3, that consists of 3 different variables and 3 different value. So as you can see here, car1, car2, car3 here refer to the same object. Okay, what I call object is that each of the object have the kind of characteristic. Okay, we declare car is a string type. Okay, it's a string as well as a string here. This one we call as the same data type of string that we can combine it together to become one array, as we have in this example, car equal to Ford, Volvo, and also BMW. Later on, I'll give you a lot of example on the array, how we can create an array, okay, for the numerical value, for the string value, and we can have a collection of multiple data type in one variable of array declarations. Okay, later on we're going to see how we can access the element of array by using the indexing here. So you refer an elements, the first elements of this array car by using the indexing number. As you can see here, we can set the x equal to car 0. Index 0 means that we want to access what kind of the value or what are the value that inside in this first index. Okay, we try to look on the above example here. So this is index 0, index 1, and index 2. Okay, so we have here the size of, or the other word is the length of this array. We have 3, 1, 2, 3 values. So the size of this array is 3. But for the indexing, we need to start from 0. So we minus 1 by for the length. There should be 0, 1, 2. So the last one. Okay. So what is the output of this one is, okay. So we can have that. I want to click on this one. Okay, straightforward. So we have one declarations of array that consists of the string. All the things is string. Okay, and then we want to access one element from this array, right? So what is the supposedly the expected output from this statement? So 0 is supposedly is false. We run the program and we can see that the output of the program will display the fault, right? So how we can access for the second and also the third element? Just change the indexing value inside the bracket here to 1 or 2. Let's say we try for 1 here and we run the program. We can see that the output of the program will access the second value. What about the last one here? So we can set here the last one is, we know that this is the last one. So index 2 is the last one. We run the program again and we can see the output will become BMW, right? So this is how we can access the element inside the array, right? So the other way that we can access the element here is without any additional variables, okay? From this example, we have x equal to the value. Okay, the value can be, this one is will become BMW straight away from this array list. Okay, but how we can straight away from the printf here? Just change the x here to the cars, and you want to access which element, the first elements. I want to comment this one, run the program. It will display the same output also, right? Without any additional of the variable x for this example, right? Okay, so from the slide here, there is a lot of example and also explanations that we can use here. But I want to make sure that you know what is the fundamental of the Python arrays before we go to this one and before we using the split functions here, because this one is split function here is specific for the string, meaning that we want to split out a string into an individual of elements that we consider as the array here as well. And this one already covered up in the previous lesson, that we can use this one reading from the text file, and then we can convert into the individual of the elements. Let's say, for example, pen is one individual string, 200 individual string, 4 individual string, and 800 is become individual as well. So if we try to reflect what we learned just now about array here, it's that. So we can think about, so pen here is the first element, so index 0, this one is index number 1, okay, index 2, and this one index number 3. So we have the size of the array here is 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So later on, we're gonna see on this one how we can access each of the elements, and we do some kind of the calculation for it, right? Okay. And then later on, we're gonna see how we can find out what the length of the array by using the len functions. Okay, so the len function is very useful in order to know that what is the size of the array here, right? Okay, for example, this one, we're still gonna use the same things you can hear. Okay, we try to run the program, and you can see that the output of this program will display 3, because what we have 1, 2, 3. Assume that I have additional as here, let's say Proton, and then I put another one, which is Audi, right? And we try to run the program. So the expected output will become 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5. Okay. So it's very important. Why we need to count the length of this array here is because of what? We want to access each element of it. Okay, imagine that we have 1,000 of elements in one array, and then we want to access all this element. Maybe we want to do some calculations. Again, we want to do some kind of the average of all numbers in 1,000 of the list here, and then we do some kind of the statistical mean, median, and so on. So if you still remember, we will use a for loops in order to access all of the elements inside it. For example, like this one, okay, for car in cars, okay, for example, this one, okay. So Python is very powerful in order to make it like a more simple way we present the programming languages like this one, okay. If you read on this one, for car in cars, something like it's an English word, okay. So, but in terms of the, or what you call the programming side, we want to make it all these elements will become car. So this one, I have two variables, okay. Cars with s here we call as a variable, which is an array, a list, okay. Car here is an individual variable that we want to access each element inside of this array. Ford, Volvo, BMW, Proton, and also Audi, right? So we know that in Python, okay, we know that car is a list, okay, car is a list. It's something like we represent like this one, okay. If you don't call these cars, okay, actually the Python will look like this one as well. But since we have a one declaration of array here, okay, that represent a list, so we just use cars directly on this Python, right? Okay, and then I want to access all the elements here by using car individual one, and let's say we try to run the program. You can see that all the elements will be displayed in this program. Ford, Volvo, BMW, Proton, and also Audi. How this display all the output is implemented is that because Ford here is the individual elements, then we want to access the current elements in this array by using the car variable. Okay, you can set here I and put it here I as well, then you can get the same output as well, like this one. For I in cars, they represent like this one: Ford, Volvo, BMW, Proton, and also Audi. Okay, so that is another way that we can access the elements by using the indexings. Okay, so let's say we have another for here, and I don't want to use the what you call this one here is car, and then this one is car, and I want to use the indexing, the length functions here. I want to count the number of elements inside the function inside the array first. That supposedly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you still remember, in for I in range of 5, right? Okay, so assume that 5 here, then the numbers of elements inside this array. Okay, and then we want to access that particular of the elements by using this indexing. We can do like this one as well by using the indexing cars. Okay, square bracket I. Okay, so I here will indicate a numbers that starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, and the last one will be 4, because if we count this number, the numbers of this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 5. But since we are starting from 0, it will be 5 minus 1 is 4 will be the last number in this range, right? So what is happening here is that the cars, right? And then the indexing will become 0, and then cars, 1, and so on. The last one will cars and 4. So by this way, we know that we can access all the elements instead of by using this one. So we can use this kind of the techniques. We run the program, okay, you will see the same output as well. Okay, can you see here? Okay, I want to make it one line empty line right after the first 4. Okay, so this is by using the first 4. And this one is by using the indexing as well. The second 4, you will get the same output. Okay, so my question is that, what if we doesn't know the length of the array? Like this one, we know that there is the size is 5 here, but assume that we add another, what is another one? Toyota. Okay, Toyota. If we add another element in this array, so supposedly we want to change this one to become 6, right? Plus by 1. Okay. But instead of by using this one, okay, let's say we don't change this one. We run the program. Okay. You will see that you will get, okay, doesn't display the Toyota for the second 4 here because we already set the range is until 5, which means that the last index will be 4, right? So there is another way that we can do here by changing the range here into the setting, finding the length of the array. Okay, I want to make it a new 4 inside it. This one for I int, okay, I int the length of this one, okay, by using this range, right? So since supposedly this one is 6, right? So we want to make it more flexible. Add another one here, row 2, and let's say it's row 2. Okay, you don't need to count one by one for this one, but you can use the length functions directly inside it. Cars, okay, so meaning that what are the length of this cars array? Okay, so it will return the numbers of it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so straight away here, right? And then it will do the indexing. Okay, right? I just copy from this line, right? Okay, and we run the program. So hopefully we will get the output. Okay, this one. So this is how we can access the elements in this array. Okay, by using the indexing, by using we call another one here is straightforward by using a variable, right? And I would like to suggest you try to use either the first one here, the first 4, or the last 4 here. But since we're gonna have let's say multiple of array declarations in the computer program, and we might have some computation from one array to the other array, so it's very useful. Gonna use this one for I in range, and then we find the length of the array, and then we're gonna use the indexings. Okay, by indexings here. So this example is a string. We don't have any some kind of the calculations, or we call the computation for the string here. But if we have some kind of the value, something like this one, okay, something this one, numbers 10, 25, and 30 here, and then we do some kind of the calculations, 10 plus 20 plus 5 and plus 30, how we can do that one? Okay, instead of plus manually 10, 25, and 30, you've got the output. We can use the indexings, how we can access each of the element, index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we do count all the total numbers for these numbers. Okay, right? Okay, so actually I have a lot of example in this lesson actually. Okay, but I will give you this example straight away right after the end of the class, and it's very useful for you actually, right? But before that, it's very important that I'm gonna teach you one by one, right? Okay, so we get back on the first session just now, how we can declare an individual element is that. So normally we declare an elements or variable of declaration and have one value for the particular value is that is like this one. Num1 equal to 10, num2 equal to 23, num3 equal to 5, and let's say we have another one here, num4 is 23, and then we want to do some calculations, total equal to num1, okay, num1, and then num2, and then plus num3, and the last one will be num4 here. So we display the output of total here, and then we run the program. Okay, so we can see that the output of this, okay, now 1, 2, 3, 4 is equal to 61. Right. Okay. So how we know that the type of this variable by using this kind of the statement print, okay, parenthesis type here is one of the functions that we want to know that what are the type of this variable num1 here. So as you can see, the output for this line number 11 is the output is one class integer. So meaning that num1 here is consists of integer value. What if we change into 10.2? Okay, run the program. You can see here the class of this num1 here is float. Okay, it's a float because we put the value of 10.2 here to this variable 1, and we know that 10.2 is float. What about 23.0? 23.0 also a float, but 5 is integer, 23 is integer as well. All right, so how we can display all the value for num1 and so num2 according to this variable, right? So by using straight away by print num1 comma num2, and then we will have the 10.2 and 23. Okay, you can put here num3 and so num4 here at the end of this statement as well, and then it will display all the numbers inside it. All right, okay. So since we learned about the array, that array here, we want to store multiple of value in one declarations. So we have multiple of variable, okay, multiple of variable in order to hold 4 values here. But we want to make it only one declarations by using numbers, something like this one. You can design like a nums, numbers is up to you, but make sure that the variable naming is have some meanings. For example, n, I'm gonna use n, numbers, and so on. Very important, right? Okay, so numbers, how we can design a array for this one by using the square bracket. Okay, the square bracket represent a list, right? Let's say which one we put 10.2, comma, and then 5, comma, again, 23, comma, 3, and so on. Okay, so this is how we declare a very simple array in this Python. Okay, right? And we want to display all these numbers. We want to know that this one, okay, print type is, this one is numbers, sorry, numbers, right? So run the program. So you can see that right after this one, it's line number 20 here, represent output of this one. Class is list. Okay, it's class as list. It not become integer or float anymore, but list here is a collections of different data types. Okay. So what I mean about different data, it can be a combination between integer, a float, and a string in the same declarations. Okay. What I mean this one is that, for example, I can declare another one. Let's say student info, for example, that consists of the student ID AA1001, something like that, and then your IC number, for example, let's say 901212526239, for example. Okay, and then what else? Student info. Your phone number, something like that, plus 60 0199126239. Okay, for example, like this one. And then you may have some kind of the height or the weight, something like that. Let's say 169 cm, for example. Okay, or we can put it like 1.79 and 79 meter that indicates a float number. Okay, I want to keep it 179 cm. Okay, and then we have a weight, something like that. Let's say 75.5. Okay, so this one we can represent a different data type, which is mean that the integer, this one is an integer, is a long, this one is integer. Okay, all right, this one. A float number, this one is float number. Okay, and maybe I want to make it like this one, to make you understand. This one is student ID, IC, one number, height, and your weight. Okay, this one. So the first index, second index, third index, fourth index, and the last index here. Then we try to print out all the, using this one, we try to run the program. Okay, run. And then you can see that this one. The string, a numbers, a string again, numbers, integer number, and also the float number here. This is what we call the collection of different data types by using the array. It's not only for specific for the numbers as well, but there is some certain cases that we're gonna represent the array, all just value in the one array in numbers. There is some cases that we're gonna use different kind of data type in one array declarations. Okay, right? Okay. Can we access the ID for this one by using the square bracket here and the first index? We run the program again. Then you can access the first elements, right? Okay. So AA1001 is the first index from these elements, right? Okay. So this is what we call the 1D array. Okay. So one-dimensional array. One-dimensional array. Okay, so it's 1D because you only have one row here. Later on, we're gonna see the 2D arrays that have multiple of row in one array here. So this is the first record, and then we're gonna have the second record, third record, and so on here. All right? Okay. So, find any questions? Ada soalan? Okay, tak ada. So I want to continue again this one. So how we can access the elements in this array by using the indexing already talked about just now. And this is another example how we can declare an array. Okay, let's say for example numbers, we can have a fruits, okay, foods, okay, drinks, Milo, coffee, cappuccino, and so on. And we can use this kind of the array declaration on how can access all the things inside these elements here. Okay, so as you can see here in line number 8, okay, in line number 8 here represent, we display all the numbers here, all the list of numbers in one array. That it will consist of the bracket as well. But we don't want to do listing like this one. For debugging to trace out the output for this array, you can do that like this one. But the thing is that it's not appropriate. So we can use this one for n in let's say, okay, if you still remember, range, and then inside it says the length, and then it's the variable of the array that you want to numbers, okay, right? And then we put it something inside here. Let's say, for example, numbers which index n. Okay, if you're confused regarding the n here, you can put here I that represent the index. Okay, so most of the programmers, okay, if you look on the notes in the website, books and so on, they frequently use the I and also the J that indicates the indexing for the elements, right? Okay, so this is how we can access the elements 10, 25, and 30, right? Okay, so we can count all the numbers in 10, 25, and 13 by using the 4 here, right? Okay, but before that, I want to make sure that you know that about how we can access, and we do some calculations. Let's say calculate the first two elements in variable numbers, okay, which means that I want to indicate this array. The first two element is 10 and also the 20, okay, so supposedly the output will become 30, right? Okay, so we can do like this one, either let's say x equal to numbers, okay, this is very long way. Which one? The first index. This one we want to access the first element, it will become 10, right? Y, for example, numbers, and then the second element, this one will become, the value here is 20, and then want to do some calculations like this one, total x plus y, okay, and then we print out the output total, right? Okay, we run the program. Okay, so the output will become 30. Okay, it's 30 here, right? This technique is very long. It is very long, but we can represent like this one. Okay, so print numbers bracket index 1, and then plus with the second index is this one. We run the program. We get the same output as well. Only one line of executions. If we do 4 lines here, you will utilize a lot of memory. You already 4 lines for this one, for the particular, the same output as this one, right? Okay, so there is no wrong for this kind of the methods here, the first method and also the second method here. But in terms of what we call optimizing the number of lines, okay, so Python allow you to do reducing the number of line by using this the second methods, right? Straight away in the print functions, okay? Because the first method here, you will have additional variable of x and also the y in this coding, and will consume some kind of memory, right? But the thing is that you don't need to worry regarding this one because you not learn about the computer programming. You not learn about the computer science, but you learn of the computer programming, how the program execute. But you need to know as well how you want to reduce the number of lines to make sure that the size of your program is not large enough for the executions, right? Okay. Okay. So just now we access one by one, okay? And if you want to access all the things inside here, you can make it like numbers and then index number 2. How many index we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus the last one, numbers. 3. Okay. So it will sum all the numbers inside it. We run the program. So you get here will become 65. It's 65. Okay, 65. So line 14 here is in this one is 65. 10 plus 20, 30, 30 plus 5, 30, 35 plus 30 is 65. Okay. What if we doesn't know how many length that we have here? Yeah, and then we want to do some calculations. So we can use the for here. It's very useful in order to use for here because we want to access each element and then we want to do some calculations. Sorry. Okay. So I think about, okay, let's say I have another number and then I want to do some calculations. Okay, and then I want to do some calculations by using for calculate total sum of values in variable numbers. Okay, for example, like this one. The can use here is for I in range, right? We find the length of the sizes for the numbers. Okay, and then we want to do some calculations here. So how we can count together? So we get total equal to total plus numbers, which index is 1. Okay, since we're going to use the total additional variables here, we're going to set one additional variable total and initialize as 0 because we want to sum up all the numbers from this value. Okay, and we want to print out the output for the total. Here is done, right? So be careful regarding the indentation here because Python is very sensitive to the indentation. Okay, so what if you have indentation like this one, means that you will print out the total each iteration until at the end of the looping. Okay, what I mean is that if I run the program, you can see that 10 is the first iteration. Okay, of course, the first iteration because it is the first value. And then 30 here it is sum of 10 and 20. Okay, so the current value of the second loop here is 30. And then we have the third iteration will become 30 plus 5 is equal to 35. You print out all the total on each of the elements. And then, sorry, in each of the iterations, 35 plus 30 is equal to 65. So it's very important for the indentation here. But if you remove the indentation from the print here and we run the program, you will get output only 65 because this print is not belongs under the 4 blocks. Okay, remember that one. If you put here print total, okay, it's totally different if you put the print outside the 4 blocks and also inside the 4 blocks here. We run, you see here, so 30, sorry, 10, 30, 35, and 65 here is going to belong to this one. But this one is belong for the line number 10. Be careful regarding this one. Okay, so maybe you can comment this one and get output of 65, right? Okay, so this is how we want to do some calculation and so on. And you can do a lot of things here. You can find out the average, mean, median, and so on by using like this one. Okay, so since we know that the total of this one, what is the okay, total is this one. What about print the average? Average. Okay, we can do, since we have a total and also the length of this array here, just forward total divided by, okay, the length of array. Okay, it's supposed to become 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you got the output. Run the program, and then total is 65. Average is 16.25. Okay, so instead of the average, you can do some kind of things here, maybe mean, median, whatever, what else, and so on. So your focus in this subject is that you need to know how you do some calculations, computation, programming. Okay, so all the things that in the data, supposedly in the numerical value, either integer or the float, right? Okay. Okay, so I stop for a while. If you have any question, just let me know. Ada soalan? Hello, is there any questions?
No.
So far, okay?
Okay.
Okay, right. Okay, just to remind you, in order to learn programming, you need to do the programming. So that's the only way you will learn programming well. So meaning that you need to do a lot of exercise, okay, a lot of example. Maybe it's not coming from my exercise. You may look on the website, YouTube, and so on in order to learn programming. If you have some difficulties, which means that you doesn't know regarding that particular statement, you can come back to me and I will explain it back to you. Right? Okay. So that is a way of learning. It's not only 100% is coming from me. Okay, I just give you only maybe around 30% from the lecture. So the others 70% is coming from the self-assessment. Okay, self-learning. You do some exploration. Okay, you may get during the exercise. You know how to solve the problem, right? Okay, so can I continue?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. So instead of we do some calculations here, total up the numbers, we can do some kind of the finding how many numbers, okay, how many numbers in this list, okay, that less than 10, for example. Okay, so we can do that kind of particular question by using the for loops, and then we add the conditions in the for. Okay, I want to create a new one here. Okay. 04. Okay, I'm using the same value. Okay, find the frequency of numbers that, for example, is greater or equal to 10. Okay, according to this statement that we have here, we have 10 is greater or equal to 10, 1. 20 is greater or equal to 10 as well, 2. 30 is greater or equal to 10 as well. Okay, so we can find out by using the for. So for I in range, okay, frequently try to use this one. Okay, it's range length of numbers, right? Because length here we'll find out what the size of this array. And then if you want to do like display all the value here, you can do like this one. Numbers I, right? You want to access each element. We run the program, make sure that you will have the output 10, 25, and 30 here. So meaning that each of the iterations, we access each of the elements in this array. So you comment this one, okay, we don't want to print it out. Then we want to find out the frequency of numbers. If the current value means that numbers I, the current value is 10, is what is condition is greater or equal to 10. We want to count by 1. So it's a count plus 1. Okay, for example, is 1. So since we have additional variable here, so we want to make sure that count is equal to 0 to initialize starting point of the counter. Okay, so this one is the counter as a counter that will count how many numbers that is greater or equal to 10. Okay, so otherwise we don't count it. So we loop again until at the end of the program. Okay, we do some kind of output here. Let's say frequency, and then right here count. Okay, so count this one. So 10 is not okay. 10 is included in these conditions. Is 1. Count is become 1. 20 is counted. Count is become 2. 5 is not counted because it will exit it will skip the if conditions here. If this one is true, it will count. But 30 is counted. So you get the output of 3. The frequencies become 3 here. Okay. So the thing is that you need to play around with the arithmetic conditions here. So this one is called as the arithmetics, or the other one is here is conditions. Play around is one. Okay, maybe you want to make it range between 10 until 20 only. Okay, you can do like this one in and numbers I is less or equal to 20. This one you want to make sure that in between 10 and 20. I mean, we try to this program. And the program. It's 2. Okay, because we want to make sure that the numbers, the current value is in between 10 and also 20. So we can do like this one, right? Okay. So 10, first one, 20 is first one, 5 is not included because it's the first condition is already false, so we'll exit the condition. 30 here is this one is true, but the second condition for this one is false, so it will be false also. So the count frequency of this one is 20. So you may have some questions. You want to count how many students that got A in the exam, got B plus in the test, quiz, pass, and so on. Fail. How many students fail in the subject? All right. Then so this is what you call some kind of the competitions in the in the program, like in the program. You can think about instead of this one, I want to create a new one here. array 04. Okay, so I'll move to more complicated one. Let's say I have multiple of array declarations. Already put inside this here as well. Okay, this one. Let's copy and paste inside here. So this example, we want to access value in array. So assume we have it's not two, become three already. Three arrays containing numerical value. Of course, as two array containing numerical value, which means that quiz one and also test. Okay, and then I have a student ID that contains the string type. Okay, quiz containing the value of 4 is a float type. This one is a float type as well. Okay, so and then I want to do some calculations here. I want to count for student number 1, what is the total marks? Okay, so total marks for quiz 1 and also the test. So you may think about total equal to quiz plus test, right? Okay, you may thinking about like this one, but is it correct? Since a student ID, quiz, test here is consists of what you call array, okay, and then we content of multiple of value here. You cannot do a straight away like this one, but you can do like this one. Okay, so print. Okay, let's say I want to make it the output like this one. So ID for the first one, student ID which index? Index 0. Right. Okay, and then total marks is 3.5 and 60. It will count it as 63.5. So got it here, quiz index 0 plus s index 0. Okay, and the program become student ID A101. Total marks is 63.5. Okay, can we do the calculation for the second student? Okay, you may think about just copy paste for addition 1 and 1 and then 1 again and run the program. Student for the second one. Student ID 102, total mark is 90, and so on. Just copy paste here. How many students? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this one will be 3. It's 2, and this one will be 3. Run the program. Can you see here the output? This one is line from line number 11, line number 12, line number 13, and line number 14. Okay, so assume that you have 1,000 student, 100 student, 200 student. You want to do manually like this one? No, you don't do like this one. But some cases you need to do this one in order to understand how you can access each element of the array. Okay, you can do like this one. Another thing is that by using for as well, for I in, okay, I'm frequently use a range here, length, because I want to count how many numbers elements in the array. Let's say I want to choose only one student. Okay, so the meaning of length range here, I don't access the element of 1A, 1 or 0 here. But this one is actually, I want to count how many elements in the array. And supposedly it will return 4. Return 4. If you still remember 4 here, it will do 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we want to reflect back on this line number 11 until line number 14, which indicate 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we can do This one, just copy and paste it here. Change the indexing here into the variables I, and I. I want to comment this one, all the things, and I run the program. You will get the same output as well. Okay, you see here 4 lines. Let's say because we have only 4 elements, but if you have 100 of line, 100 of elements, you get 100 of elements. But by using 4, you only use 2 lines only. Okay, you can add another one here. Let's say B201. Okay, and the quiz is, let's say this one is a good student 5, and quiz test also is 90.0. So on. We run the program, it's automatically added in the output. This one. You can think about, let's say inside here, find a number of students if total marks greater or equal to 80. Okay, we have a list of students more than 80 here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 students. You can think about how. Okay, you may have some kind of the additional variable here is total marks that indicates the current value of each student. Okay, copy paste here. Just change this one into this one. Okay, and if total marks is equal to greater than, let's say 80, you count by 1 equal to count plus 1. Okay, and then here you need to have additional variable count equal to 0. Okay, it doesn't mean that you need to use the variable name count. Okay, you can name it as maybe CNT, C, for example, and so on. But make sure that the variable name is indicates meanings in the program. Okay, meanings program. Okay, and then since we have already done this, here is total marks. Total marks. Can you see here is total marks? Okay, wrong. And then I want to print out the output. Print. Okay. Number of students equal to greater than 80%. 80 is count. Run the program. See, so we have 4 students. 1, it's not included. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. But if we want to change to 90, run the program. I can see it's still 4 because we have 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to change to 95, and the program is only 2 because 100 on and also 95.0 is included in these conditions, right? So this is how you play around with the indexing. Here is very useful by using indexing, and you do some calculations and so on. So you may think about you want to find out the mean. This one is find out the number of students. Calculate mean of quiz, something like that. Okay, you may think about quiz total equal to what actually. So quiz total passed by quiz. The current indexing is 1. Okay, so you need to have additional here. Quiz total equal to 0 because we want to count for the quiz 35, 5.0 until the last students here by using this kind of things here, right? And of course, we can do the output here, average of quiz marks is by using this one, quiz total divided by the length of the array. Okay, which one? The quiz. Okay, so we run the program. Oh, forget to put comma. Run the program. So you can see that the average of quiz mark is 4.5. 4.5. You can do for the test as well. Calculate mean of the test. Okay, you can think about test total equal to test total. Okay, plus which one, which array is test, and current indexing is I. Okay, so since we're gonna have here additional test total equal to 0 in here, right? So we have here calculate the total of the test, and then just copy this one, change into test total, and since the quiz and test have the same size, and just leave it as a quiz as well. Okay, so average of quiz mark is 4.5. Average of quiz mark, sorry, is test mark is 84.1. So number of students is meaning this one is 95. Is 2 students, right? Okay. So this is what we call it the array, how we can access the array, okay, and how we can declare an array as well, and how we can do some calculation, computational program in the array.